Serving, without a doubt, is the most important skill in the entire game of volleyball. I would argue that volleyball is all about having a good serve and having good serve receive. So in today's video, what we are going to do is look at the top 5 best serves in the game of volleyball, how to do them, my honest thoughts about them, and things that I think you need to know in order to be more successful with your serve. With all of that out of the way, you do me a huge favor. Leave a like on this video. Comment down below. How do you serve a volleyball and why do you think it's the best way to serve a volleyball? Make sure to subscribe to this channel. If you are new, check out PME Volleyball Shorts if you are looking for more volleyball content. And with that all out of the way, let's hop straight into it. So what we're going to do for today's video is take 5 pretty common serves that you'll see in the game of volleyball. I've ranked them based on what I think is the best to the worst. So number 5 is going to be the worst. Then we're going to work our way up to number 1, which I think is the best serve in the entire game of volleyball. We are going to give each one of these serves a score out of 10 based on 2 different things. They will get 5 points for how effective I think that serve is, and then 5 points for how difficult I think that serve is. That will give them a score out of 10, and of course we will be adding bonus points for whenever I seem that to be fit, because this is my YouTube channel and I can do whatever I want. Anyways, with all of that being said, let's hop into the number 5 serve on this list, which just so happens to be the underhanded serve. The underhanded serve is a staple of volleyball. It's probably the first way that you learned how to serve a volleyball, and that's because it's pretty simple and pretty easy. The only problem with the underhanded serve is I find it to be very ineffective. It's not super useful, and you can only do it for a certain amount of time before it really just becomes outdated. And very early on in your volleyball career, it kind of becomes detrimental to your team. It doesn't do your team a whole lot of favors, and it certainly doesn't help when it's your turn behind the service line. So this is how we do an underhanded serve. Maybe if this is your first time playing volleyball, I'm just going to give you the super quick and easy way to do it. Basically, you want to take that volleyball in your non-dominant hand. So I'm a left-handed volleyball player, so I'm going to hold that volleyball in my right hand, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to step forward with my right foot, and as I'm stepping forward, I'm going to toss that volleyball up into the air. You can make a fist. I preferably, honestly, like to keep my hand open to give myself more surface area. I'm going to step, toss, swing through the volleyball, and you're going to see that volleyball is just going to go nice, high, up in the air, and over the net. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have my cameraman come stand right over here, just so you can see the volleyball as it goes over the net. He's going to follow the volleyball over the net, and this is what an underhand serve looks like. We hold the volleyball in our non-dominant hand, we step, we toss, we hit that volleyball over the net, just like so, and that is how you do an underhanded serve. It's just not super effective. You get to a certain point, it honestly just becomes a free ball for the other team to pass, and you're not doing yourselves any favor. You're not putting any pressure on them from behind the service line. Overall, I just don't think it's a very good serve, so it's going to rank very lowly in that category. 1 out of 5 for me. When it comes to the difficulty of the underhanded serve, I think it is the easiest serve in the entire game of volleyball. You should go back there and be able to hit an underhanded serve 100 times out of 100. So in that aspect, it's not going to rank very highly for being very difficult either, getting a 1 out of 5 in that category. So with that in mind, the underhanded serve gets a total score of 2 out of 10, putting it dead last on this list. But before we hop into serve number 4 on this list, I just want to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Way of Wade. The Way of Wade 10 lows in this family love colorway has just dropped, and I will say these shoes are absolutely incredibly looking. Some of my favorite things about Way of Wade shoes is the superior traction that they have compared to other shoes that you might play volleyball in. This grip that they have on the bottom of their shoes is unmatched, and out of any other shoe that I've used in the game of volleyball, I can say I find myself not slipping and sliding one bit when I put these shoes on my feet. They also have a full-length boom midsole that allows for their best jumping technology, allowing you to be your bounciest when you are out there on the volleyball court. I have messed around with these shoes a little bit, and they've just felt absolutely great and incredible. And in fact, right now, we are going to throw them on, hit a jump serve, which will probably appear later on this list, and we'll just see how good they feel. Let's give them a try. Woo! Let's get it. Now that we got the new Way of Wade 10 lows in the family love colorway on our feet, let's try a jump serve. And yeah, when it comes down to it, the thing I like best about these shoes is that they are super comfortable. I feel super supported, and I find those 2 things to be super important when I play volleyball. The link in my bio will take you directly to the Way of Wade website, where you can go check out the Way of Wade Family Love 10 Lows. I think you will really love this volleyball shoe. Thanks again to Way of Wade for sponsoring today's video, and with that out of the way, let's hop straight back into the video. The standing topspin serve is an interesting one. I guess a step up from an underhanded serve, like I would say it's more effective, but the next serve serve on this list I would recommend every volleyball player do instead of the standing topspin serve. That's because basically it's just a glorified roll shot. Like, there isn't a whole lot of substance between it. But honestly, I do think it is a good thing to practice because it can help you with your timing when you hit. And then eventually, if you want to learn how to jump serve, like, it is a good way to, I guess, work on keeping that volleyball high to hit it at its highest contact point, using good form, all of those good things. This is everything you need to know in order to do a standing topspin serve. It's going to start out fairly similarly to what we do when we do an underhanded serve, but a few things do change. For instance, we're gonna now hold that volleyball and toss in our dominant hands, our hitting hands. So if you're right-handed, you're gonna hold that volleyball in your right hand. If you're left-handed like me, you're gonna hold it in your left hand. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna step with my non-dominant foot as I go to toss, okay? So it's kind of exactly the same thing as the underhanded serve. There's a step, there's a toss, and then you're gonna keep your hands high, you're gonna have your non-dominant hand up, acting as a guide. You're gonna swing through at the highest point, hitting that volleyball, and you need to hit it with power here in order for it to go over the net. So this is what it looks like when you put all of that together for a standing topspin serve. We toss, we step, we swing through the volleyball, and there you have it. That is the standing topspin serve, just like so. Honestly, when it comes to ranking the standing topspin serve, it's not gonna rank very higher, if not really at all, much higher than the underhanded serve. I guess for effectiveness, I'll give it a 2 out of 5 possible points. Like, it will be a little bit more effective because it has a little bit more speed, a little bit more spin that the passer has to worry about. But those are all things that they're used to when passing hits anyway, so I don't think it's that much more effective than an underhanded serve. When it comes to the difficulty, it's definitely a little bit more difficult, and I think it'll score, if anything, a little bit higher, but the risk to reward ratio with this serve simply is not there. And that's why I recommend that every volleyball player do the next 3 serves on this list, at least do one of them, because those 3 are the standard premium cream of the crop serves that every volleyball player should be doing. So for difficulty, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. That gives the total score for the topspin standing serve 5 out of 10. It's not the greatest serve in the world, but these top 3 are the ones that every volleyball player should be learning, starting with number 3 being the standing float serve. This is where we start getting into real serves that I think any volleyball player can find success from behind the service line with. Starting with the standing float serve. This is a staple of the game of volleyball, a serve that is super easy to learn, and compared to the other 2 serves, way more effective. It can do a great job of throwing the team on the other side of the net out of system, and it's super simple and easy to learn, and it doesn't take a whole lot. And it's not the most complicated thing in the world, especially for how effective it is. So let's learn how to do the standing float serve. The first thing we're gonna do is start off in the same stance that we use for the underhand serve. So this time, I'm holding the volleyball, my non-dominant hand, that being my right hand, and I'm gonna hit it with my left hand. What's gonna happen is the same thing that we've been doing for all the other. We're gonna toss, we're gonna step, and we're gonna hit, okay? But this is where the float serve differs a little bit, is because when we hit a float serve, we want that serve to move back and forth, creating this floating motion, just like that. And the way that we generate that float on the volleyball is by keeping our hand nice and flat when we contact the ball. But when we contact the ball, normally when you hit a volleyball, you wanna swing through it. That's not true with the float serve. We want to stop that hand fairly quickly after contacting that volleyball, keeping it nice, open, and flat, and that's going to give us that floating effect that's really going to make it hard for the other team to pass that volleyball. So this is what a standing float serve looks like when you put all those steps together. Holding it in my non-dominant hand, I toss, I step, I keep that hand open, and with that serve in particular, I didn't do a great job of keeping my hand completely flat and stopping it after I contacted it, so you saw that that ball continued to spin a little bit when I served it. Let's try that again. And this, just like with everything else in the game of volleyball, is going to take practice, but enough practice can make this an absolutely lethal serve from behind the service line. So we're going to try that again. I toss, I step, I contact, and look at that. That volleyball had barely any spin on it, had this floating effect, and it is going to give the other team a lot of hard times when they are trying to pass that serve. When it comes to effectiveness for the standing float serve, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I think it can be super effective, especially if you get that flow on that volleyball. It can give that other team a lot of things to consider when they are trying to pass your serve. When it comes to difficulty, I don't think it's very difficult. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. I think if you can do the other 2 serves on this list, you can absolutely do a standing float serve. serve. The reason it's going to come in at number 3 on this list is because I think it is way more efficient at putting the other team out of system. I think that this is the perfect beginner serve in the game of volleyball. Every volleyball player should learn how to do this serve first instead of doing the topspin serve or the underhanded serve. And because of how important I believe it is in the game of volleyball, I'm awarding it 1 bonus point as being the best beginner serve in the game of volleyball. So that gives the standing float serve a total score of 6 out of 10 points. That only leaves us with 2 serves left on this list, and coming in at number 2, we have the good old faithful classic jump topspin serve. The jump topspin serve. Arguably, it's the maxed out, the highest possible skill difficulty serve you can do in the game of volleyball. Because it is so difficult, there are a lot of different things that go into it. And for this mini tutorial that I've been giving for the other serves, for this serve in particular, if you're looking for an in-depth tutorial on how to jump serve, I will absolutely make a video on that if this video gets a bunch of likes. So like up this video, and then I'll hit you guys with an entire video just covering jump serving and how to do it effectively. For the sake of simplicity, basically a jump serve consists of 3 things. It's your toss, which arguably is the most important. It's your 3-step approach, which is the same thing you do when you hit. And then finally, it's the contact point. You want that to be nice and high through the volleyball, generating as much power as you possibly can while being successful with the serve. So this is what it looks like when we put all of those things together. We're holding that volleyball in our dominant hand. We're gonna toss it up in the air. We're giving ourselves enough time where we can complete our full 3-step approach before we jump up and then hit that volleyball on completing the serve, okay? So this is what it looks like when you put all of those variables together. We hold that volleyball out in front of us. We toss it up, 3-step approach, swing through, that volleyball goes over the net and thus completes the jump serve. Jump topspin serving in particular is a whole lot more complicated than that. There's a lot of timing, there's a lot of reps that goes into being good at it, and then you can obviously do some things that can make it more effective. You can control where you put it, you can put it short, you can put it long, you can do a little off speed, things that throw the serve receive on the other side of the net off of their game. When it comes to effectiveness of jump serving, I think it scores perfectly. 5 out of 5. It can be the most effective serve in the game of volleyball. There are some jump servers out there in the professional game that just simply hit that volleyball hard enough where nobody on planet Earth can return that serve. When it comes to difficulty, it also gets a perfect score of 5 out of 5. I think it is the most difficult serve in the game of volleyball. That just gives jump serving a plain and simple 10 out of 10 possible points. And you might be wondering, Christian, how is jump serving not the number 1 on this list? You said it came in at number 2. What's number 1? What could possibly be number 1? That is because the number 1 serve on this list can be just as effective as jump topspin serving, but it's not as difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the number 1 serve on this list, the one that I think everybody should learn, the jump float serve. The jump float serve. It takes everything we like about a standing float serve and amplifies it. It adds more power, it allows you to be more aggressive with it. Overall, I just think it's a super effective and a heavy emphasis on accessible serve for every volleyball player out there. It is literally the name of the serve. We take everything we do with a standing float serve and we just add a jump into it. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to stand here. There are 2 different ways to toss the volleyball. You can do one where you're doing it with the non-dominant hand, and you toss that up in front of your hitting hand, and it's more of like a, I guess like a gallop into the serve. But for me personally, the way I like to jump float serve and the way that I'm going to teach you, again, I can make a whole nother tutorial breaking down both ways if you would like me to. Just leave a bunch of likes on this video and I will get on that. But for today, what I'm going to simply run through is the 2-handed jump float serve. We take that volleyball with both hands. We take just 2 steps, okay? So it's the final 2 steps of our approach. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold that volleyball with my 2 hands. I'm gonna take my 2 steps, the final 2 steps in my approach. I toss that volleyball up in the air. I hit it with a flat hand. It gives it the power that I am able to generate more power since I'm using my legs and jumping into the air. And thus I'm able to hit that volleyball harder, giving it more of a flow, making it a better serve. This is what it looks like, okay? We hold that volleyball, we take 2 steps, toss, float. Just like that. You can see that volleyball floated very nice and beautifully, but there are a bunch of different things you can implement from here, just like the other serves. You can go short, you can serve spots. If you hit a good enough float, like that thing will honestly just do all of the magic on its own. But I overall think that the jump float serve is the number 1 serve in the game of volleyball that every volleyball player should be learning and doing, or striving to achieve and one day learn and master. So, for effectiveness, the jump float serve gets 5 out of 5. I think float serves in general are just hard to receive receive and you add a little jump into it, it makes it harder to receive. Gets a perfect score there. Difficulty, it doesn't actually score as high as the jump serve. I think it is a much easier serve, and therefore one of the reasons I actually think it's a little bit better, it's because it's more accessible to all volleyball players out there. I think every volleyball player could learn and one day do a jump float serve in a game. Not the same can be said about jump serving with topspin, because that's a much harder serve. So I'm gonna give the jump float serve only a 3 out of 5 in difficulty. I don't think it's the most difficult serve in the world, but the reason it scores the highest on this list and it gets an additional bonus 5 points from me, PME Volleyball, it's because a good jump float serve can be just as effective as a jump topspin serve. And for all of the effort you need to put into mastering that jump topspin serve, it is so much easier to get a good jump float serve compared to that jump topspin serve. So I think it is just an easier, overall better serve to invest your time into, and something that you could see pay off on the court. So because I think it is just overall the best serve to be learning in the game of volleyball, it gets a bonus 5 points from me, giving it a total score breaking the cap of 10 points at 13 out of 10 possible points. The best serve, in my opinion, in the game of volleyball. That's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below what your list, how you would order the serves would be, if you would change anything from what I did in this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.